After almost 2 years, we are finally learning it may be over as soon as next week. We're talking about the long-awaited investigation by Special Counsel Robert Mueller and his team into possible conspiracy between Russia and members of the Trump team to interfere in the 2016 election, as well as any other possible related crimes. CNN has learned that the brand new Attorney General Bill Barr is preparing to announce the completion of the Mueller report, along with plans to submit a summary of the report to Congress soon after, according to sources familiar with Barr's plans. This is the most significant indication so far that Mueller is almost done with his investigation. Late today, President Trump was asked by CNN's Caitlin Collins whether the report should be released next week.
That'll be totally up to the new Attorney General. He's a tremendous man, a tremendous person who really respects this country and respects the Justice Department. So that'll be totally up to him. The new Attorney General, yes. I guess from what I understand, that will be totally up to the Attorney General.
The timing of the announcement from AG Barr could change, and it's not clear what exactly the Attorney General will send to Congress and, of course, what will be released to the public, if anything. Though we do know congressional Democrats have already expressed grave concerns over Barr's refusal during his confirmation hearing to guarantee he would release the entire report to Congress, with Democrats insisting a summary and not the actual report will not be acceptable, which means this could kick off a legal battle, with Democrats in Congress suing the Department of Justice. Mueller took over the investigation in May 2017. Since then, his team has filed 199 criminal counts against 37 people and companies, 6 of them from Trump world. There has been one person convicted at trial, President Trump's former campaign chair, Paul Manafort. He's currently in jail awaiting sentencing. Manafort's deputy, Rick Gates, also pleaded guilty, as did Trump's former campaign advisor, George Papadopoulos, who did time in prison. Former Trump fixer, Michael Cohen, he'll head to prison in May. Former Trump National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, pleaded guilty and is awaiting sentencing. And Trump advisor Roger Stone was just charged, of course. Many of these individuals from Trump world were charged with lying to the FBI or to Congress about their contacts with Russians, which leads us to the questions we hope Mueller will answer, starting with why? Why all the lying about contacts with the Russians? Was there any conspiracy between President Trump, his campaign, administration officials, campaign officials, and Russia? Did the President of the United States commit any crimes, whether conspiracy or obstruction of justice? Are Mueller's indictments done? Is that it? Was Roger Stone the last one? And if so, did he find suspicious activity that looked like conspiracy, but Mueller could not prove it beyond a reasonable doubt? We do not know if Mueller will answer these questions or if Attorney General Barr will let us know any of the details about them. CNN crime and justice reporter Shimon Prokupecz joins me now. And Shimon, we have seen some signs that Mueller's team has been possibly wrapping things up.
That's right. Some on the ground, Jake. We've seen prosecutors and staff members from the special counsel's office wheeling out boxes from the office. This was last week. It was the first time we had seen something like that. There have been signs in the courthouse also that this has been wrapping up. The Mueller grand jury, the grand jury that he has been using to indict and investigate all of these charges, has not been seen since January 24th. That is when Roger Stone was indicted. It was just the day before he was indicted that was the last time we saw that grand jury. Certain prosecutors that have been assigned to the special counsel's office have now gone back to the Department of Justice. And then one other thing that has been going on is that a lot of these cases that are still going on, like the Roger Stone, have been taken over by the USDC, the district attorney here, the U.S. attorney in the District of Columbia.
How much of the special counsel's office work might we actually get to see?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question as we get into the next few weeks. Certainly, William Barr has indicated that he was going to stick close to the regulations, telling members of the Senate during his confirmation hearing that under current regulations, Mueller's report is supposed to be confidential. And then he went on and explained it even further. And take a listen.
The Attorney General, as I understand the rules, would report to Congress about the conclusion of the investigation, and I believe there may be discretion there about what the Attorney General can put in that report.
So you would make a report to Congress?
Yes.
based on the report you've received?
Yes.
And by all accounts, certainly the people that we've talked to that have been close to this investigation in the Department of Justice, that William Barr intends to stick close to the regulations in this investigation. So it could be that we may not see a lot of what the Mueller team has been working on.
All right, Shimon Prokupos, thanks so much. We should note the end of the Mueller investigation does not mean the end of investigations of President Trump and people around him. There's the investigation by the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York into the president's role in hush money payments to women who allege affairs with him. There's also investigations into the Trump Foundation, the Trump Inaugural Committee, to say nothing of House Democrats who last November won subpoena power. But let's talk with our experts about the Mueller report. Jeffrey Toobin, Attorney General Barr has said he wants to be as transparent as possible with the public, but he's not pledged that he's going to hand over the Mueller report to Congress, and he's actually not legally required to do so by the statute. Do you think this is going to end up in front of the Supreme Court, Congress, Democrats suing DOJ to get the full Mueller report?
It's possible. The regulation is oddly worded, and there does appear to be a lot of discretion. He could release the vast majority of it. Like, for example, classified information. Everybody knows that has to be excised before anything is released. But after that, there starts to be a lot of play in the joints. What is a grand jury material? What is related to ongoing investigations? What is affecting the rights of people who are not charged? If you wanted to take expansive views of all those categories, you could eliminate almost an entire report. Or you could say the public interest is such that you could take out none of those categories. This is obviously going to be an extremely consequential decision that Barr makes, but I don't know how he's going to make it.
Kim, you worked on the Whitewater investigation. What do you make of the timing here? Do you think that the Mueller team was just waiting for Matthew Whitaker to no longer be the acting attorney general before they did this? Do you see anything into the timing here?
That's difficult to speculate. I mean, there were 4 years under Ken Starr and a much smaller investigation. So it seems that the timing hopefully is not rushed, because this is the very widespread, not just in terms of obstruction of justice, but also in terms of potential financial crimes, the Russian influence into the election. So it's puzzling to make any speculation about why now. Of course, Rod Rosenstein has also indicated, at least publicly, we're hearing that he's going to be transitioning, and he is sort of the mastermind at this point of all the information relating to this. So it would seem to make sense to keep him on board, at least for the transition process.
Let me bring in Josh Campbell. Josh, we know that Mueller still has unfinished business. Former campaign chair Paul Manafort has yet to be sentenced. Michael Flynn is still cooperating with the special counsel's office. Former Trump campaign official Rick Gates has yet to be sentenced. Mueller's only getting started in court on Roger Stone's case with an indictment last month, although I think that's been handed over to the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. We know the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office working on that and other cases. It might continue. Do you see this as a sign of Mueller's office feeling they're done, they've exhausted everything they can find, and it's up to the courts to prosecute?
Yeah, I think we are seeing the end here, at least as far as it relates to the president and the campaign itself. Now, as you mentioned, there have been a lot of cases that have been carved out and farmed out. But if you go back to Robert Mueller's original mandate, that was trying to determine whether or not there was coordination or collusion between the campaign of Donald Trump and the Russians, and that's going to be his major focus. And I think the fact that now we're seeing this wrap up, I think that part of it is coming to a close. Now, with respect to what we were talking about earlier, as far as what we actually get to see, you mentioned the highly classified information that might be in a report like this. We can't lose sight of the fact that these sources and methods are used in a number of different cases, a number of different counterintelligence operations that will go on and on and on, unrelated to the president. So what I would say for the American people, just because you may not see the full report, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something sinister there. Of course, the friction will be whether or not Congress asks to tell us everything, give us the full report, the sources and methods, and then they make the determination themselves, what they want to release. There's going to be a very intense debate over that very fact. What do they get to see, and then what does the public get to see?